years ago now, you went through some very big health challenges that really changed the trajectory of your life.
So COVID hit and I had 2 big contracts, and so in the same week, I just stopped getting paid. And then a few months later, I found out I had stage 1 cervical cancer. Like, you can't go through something like that and keep living the way you did.
Yeah.
Once sickness grabs a hold of you, it's shaking something in you or out of you, and you sort of have to work out what that is. And for me, it was the transformation out of almost like the box that I had put myself into.
Did you grieve the loss of that identity?
Yeah, I did.
Today's guest is a true powerhouse in the Australian fashion industry. She made history as the first ever winner of Project Runway Australia, designing for icons like Kelly Rowland and creating uniforms for some of Australia's biggest companies, including Virgin Australia. But her story goes far beyond fashion. After overcoming cancer and facing life-altering health challenges, she is now stepping into a new chapter, blending her love for beauty and fashion with energy work. If there was ever the perfect person to talk about transformation, reinvention, and the courage to follow your true path, look no further. Juli Grbac, welcome to Not So Status Quo.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. You were at the top of my list when I was thinking about people I wanted to have on this show, because you embody all of the things that this podcast is about. So I'm really excited to jump into this conversation.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, which is probably all of you, Juli and I are actually good friends. You are a part of my world, and I'm so grateful to have you as a friend. Joining me here today just feels really comfortable.
I'm so happy to be here, and I love seeing you so comfortable. You are definitely shining bright.
Thank you. Let's jump in. If you could give the current chapter of your life a title, what would it be?
Probably Juli 2.0. This is finally like the time where I'm stepping into my complete authentic self, which is what you preach.
Yeah.
So it's about time.
Yeah. And that must feel good to be able to say that.
Yeah. It's been hard.
A long time coming.
Yeah, a long time coming.
Yeah. Reflection is a really important thing in life, especially when we are trying to be our authentic self and live our best life. So take us back to young Juli. What did she love? What was she passionate about? What did she want to be when she grew up?
She was like a weird kid, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like all creatives are. But I knew pretty young that I wanted to be a fashion designer. Like, I loved beauty and creativity, and my mum always was sewing things, and that's what I always wanted to do. And I followed that path probably since I was 8, I probably knew.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, you had a clear sense of self, or a clear sense of who you wanted to grow up to be?
Probably a clear sense of purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. Not self at all.
Yeah.
No, self comes with age and experience, but purpose and knowing what lights you up is something that you get at a young age. Yeah.
And if she was standing with us right now, how do you think she'd feel?
Look, she wouldn't have been happy with all the decisions I've made.
There'd be some finger pointing, some shaking.
She'd be like, really? Yeah. Did you really have to do that? But, we got here in the end. So, yeah.
Well, I'm very proud of you for arriving at the destination that you have. But there's a lot for us to go through.
There is.
You've had an incredible life journey so far. Lots of twists and turns. A lot of us have, but I like to romanticize your life a lot. You've done the fashionista in New York era. You've been on television. You've dressed Kelly Rowland. You've done all of these amazing things. Tell me about what led you to launch your fashion brand.
Honestly, I was very young. I was 22 years old when I launched it, and it was probably a bit prematurely, and I just couldn't see myself doing anything else. I just did it alongside working 2 other part-time jobs at the time. So it was sort of a no-brainer for me. I was like, I have to just keep going, and one day it will pay off. Did it? No, but
it's the journey. It's not the destination.
Yeah. It may still one day, but I have had some amazing things happen in my career that I never could have even imagined. So it has paid off in different ways.
Yeah. Tell me about your support network when you were starting your business, and launching yourself into the fashion industry?
I'm really blessed that I have my mum that taught me how to sew. So she was with me the whole time. It was basically me and her. And without that, I never would have been able to do what I've done. And just when you believe in yourself, it's one thing, but when someone else believes in you more than they believe in themselves, it's actually quite amazing. And I was really blessed to have that with my mum.
Brilliant to have the support network. We are, as women particularly, really shaped by the societies and cultures that we grow up in. And for women, there's often this predetermined timeline that we should be following and steps that we should be taking in our life. Have you ever felt pressure from others, whether that's society or family, friends, to have you leading a particular type of life?
I mean, everybody does.
Yeah.
And that's all I felt, pressure. And it's so funny when you have your own business. It's amazing how many people tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Oh, Julie, you should do this, you should do that. And sort of following my own path was hard to a point. And then there was the life pressure of get married, have kids, do, the status quo, like do that. So I was trying to navigate having a business and being a businesswoman with no business experience, as well as trying to get married and do the right thing.
What age did you get married?
29. Look, at the time it felt good and it felt right.
Okay, yeah.
However, it was probably rushed and, we had to get a visa. So I don't know if it would have happened if we didn't. And it is what it was, but I'm glad that I was brave enough to get divorced a few years later.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the support or means to do that, but I was really lucky to do that, yeah.
Divorce can be such a controversial topic. I've been there. I know that this is firsthand, that this is a controversial topic and a lot of people have opinions and there's a lot of unsolicited opinions that are given during that time. So divorce is one thing. Is there anything else in your life that you feel was a little not so status quo, that was not fitting the mold that society had been telling you?
My choice to not have children.
Yeah.
It's amazing when people go, oh, do you have kids? And I say no. And they go, you'll meet someone or you haven't met the right man. And it's like, no, I actually don't want children. And they still go, oh, you never know. It's not happening. I don't have ovaries and I'm 46 years old. So it's never going to happen. But people still say it and they want that. And if you just say, I don't want children, people don't sometimes want to hear it.
Yeah.
Because as a woman, it was hard for me to actually admit for a long time that it wasn't my path.
I feel like your time was really spent investing into fashion and growing your business though. You were doing a lot of really cool things.
Yeah.
And some of those really cool things was going on Project Runway. You went in 2008. It was the first season in Australia and you won the damn thing.
Yes.
And then you got the call up to go on Project Runway All-Stars in New York, and that aired in 2019.
Correct.
Tell me about that time in your life.
2008 this is before reality TV was a big thing. So at the time, like I went on thinking no one would watch it, to be honest. And it was sort of a point in my career that I really wanted to quit fashion and someone was like, you should go on Project Runway. And I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't do that. And they're like, you just need to know how to sew. And I was like, bitch, I can sew. Yeah. And I went on and loved it and won. And I was shocked when I won, to be honest. Like it was such a shock to me, but the experience was very wholesome. It was probably before reality TV became such a big thing. So it was more about celebrating the artist rather than creating a story.
And then you went back on in 2019.
I did.
How did that journey and everything in between, how did that shape your career?
In 2019, I was a different person. So it had been like 10 years in between. And I went back on because I was in between projects and I could have, I did it. But it was a different experience. We filmed it in New York, which was amazing. But I wasn't on the tools anymore, so I wasn't really sewing. I was pretty bad at it. And the experience was amazing, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first time. And it's funny, reality TV, people think that they're going to go on reality TV and become the next big thing. I went on it because the timing was right and no one gets how much the expectation is versus the reality of doing something like that. People think that once you're on TV, that's it. And it's not necessarily, it's a moment. It's like the momentum afterwards and what you do with that as a springboard, that counts.
And what did you springboard into?
So in 2010, after Project Runway Australia, I was asked to bid to do the uniforms for Virgin Australia. And so I bid to do them and I won that job. That for me was the biggest point in my career. I'd earned it. I'd bid against other designers. I was getting paid for it. It was amazing. And that, I guess, is sort of what shaped my career to come. And it really made it worth my while, all the hard work before. Suddenly I was getting paid every month, which is very rare in fashion. I was traveling around the world and I had to create a uniform for 7,000 employees at the time. Yeah.
You'd mentioned that before going on Project Runway, you were potentially thinking about exiting fashion.
Yeah.
Then you're designing for arguably one of Australia's most recognized brands, Virgin. How did that sit with you when you got that gig?
Honestly, when you do such a quantum leap in life, you have to sit with the self-worth, and it was hard for me to believe. And I think that if I hadn't done Project Runway, I probably wouldn't have been ready to do that. So it was almost like what I needed to do before I got Virgin. So even when I got it, I still work with them today, and it's been the best job I've ever had. Like, I still pinch myself. It's been amazing. So Project Runway prepared me for that job because that's real life. Do you know what I mean? It's not you're on a TV show for 3 months and then you're out. See you later. Like, that was real life. And that was 15 years ago. I designed the Virgin uniforms. They're still wearing it today. I still work with them. And that gave me so many more opportunities to do so much more.
And in amongst all of this amazingness, you moved to New York.
I did.
Tell me about Juli in New York.
Oh my goodness. I was literally like Harry Bradshaw. I have
no doubt.
I just gotten divorced and I had an apartment downtown and it was fabulous. And I had it was just a time in my life that I will never forget. And I'm so glad that I gave myself permission to do that. Like, it wasn't all, cocktails and parties. Like, it was hard as well, but it was such an expansive time in my life. And growing up in Brisbane, I had traveled, but actually living somewhere is a whole different energy. And being in the energy of New York, it just honestly makes you dream big.
It does. I've actually said this to people before. It sounds really like a bit cringy, but if you're in Times Square and it's night and you are surrounded by the energy, the lights, the people, it really does have this vibe of anything is possible.
It does. And I think that that's what I needed at that time. I just, changed my life, gotten divorced, moved country. And I think sometimes you need to do these big, scary things to make a difference and realize that the world is bigger than you think it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can become so insular or stuck in what you're doing.
Yes.
It was the best thing I ever did.
And what brought you back to Australia?
I was spending way too much money there. I wasn't actually working over there. I got a contract in Australia. So it
was time to come back.
It was time to come back, yeah.
We all experience moments of self-doubt. Our self-talk can be quite destructive and unkind at times. The mental barriers in life in general, let alone when we're on a path that we're not sure if we're meant to still be on. Can you tell me about some of the mental hurdles that you've had to overcome?
It's really hard. And I think that when you've got your own business, it's a whole different set. But I would say the mental hurdles about why you're doing it and to keep moving forward. And there's so many times that I've started things that just didn't work out and people would look at my career and go, oh, but you did this and this and this. And if I told you how many times I failed, it would be embarrassing. And I think that having the mental capacity to pick yourself up after a failure is probably the hardest thing, the resilience. And I think now what used to knock me back maybe a couple of months would maybe knock me back for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's getting stronger and more resilient and finding why you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But it's really hard. And I think that you need to let yourself fall sometimes to put yourself back together again. A lot of people just have to be strong and keep going, but you keep going in the wrong direction. Sometimes when you stop is when you see that you're pushing for something that's not working.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like giving up at any point?
Every day. I still feel like giving up.
Yeah.
No, I always did. And
Yeah.
and I think that I would be crazy to be like, oh my God, everything
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Like I've given up. I've started business that didn't work out. I've moved country. I've done so many different things because what I was doing, I wasn't enjoying. So rather than giving up, I just changed direction. And I think that that's what a lot of people need to sort of be open to and going,
Yeah.
okay, not today,
Yep.
but I'm not going to do the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then sort of, doing something different.
Challenging your perspective is a great way to get through a challenging time. Is there anything else in particular, any techniques or tools or anything that's really helped you overcome limiting beliefs or negative self-talk?
I think the biggest thing about the limiting belief is finding it. So
Yes.
there's so much talk now. Everyone's going, you're limiting belief,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. Like I find new ones every single day.
Yep.
But you have to find your biggest ones
Yep.
and then be open to work on them. And so for me, I guess around business and being a fashion designer and thinking that I wasn't a good businesswoman sort of created this feeling of insecurity. Like I've been doing work on myself forever and I'm still continuing to do it. And I think the limiting beliefs, the big ones, are the ones that you avoid.
100%.
And then you go, oh. And when you see it,
Yeah.
and that, like when you see it and you just get so sick of yourself,
Yeah.
that's when you go, okay, it's time. Let's knock this one out.
Yeah. As someone who's close to you, I know that a few years ago now, you went through some very big health challenges that really changed the trajectory of your life. It really did in multiple ways. Can you tell me about that time and what you were going through and how it shaped your life?
Right after COVID, so COVID hit and I had 2 big contracts. And so in the same week, I just stopped getting paid. This was 2020. And then a few months later, I found out I had stage 1 cervical cancer. And it was so close to being stage 2, they had to operate immediately and get rid of it. And I was really blessed that it was gone and I got through it. And that sort of made me change my life. Like you can't go through something like that and keep living the way you did.
Yeah.
But at the time, the world was changing as well with COVID. And then I went back into fashion and it was so funny. It was like, I didn't understand the assignment. The universe was like, you can't keep doing the same thing you were doing and like go through that. And so then after that, I got for 3 years fibromyalgia. I couldn't use my arms for 3 years. I was in chronic pain. There were not a lot of answers. I still am finding out like it's a multiple of things. But for 3 years, I literally was just, I had to put my phone down. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't wash my hair and it reset my life. And I think the hardest thing is like when you've got a sickness that people know of or can see, they understand. But when there's something that the doctors don't know and you look normal, people don't understand.
An invisible disability.
Yeah, you don't know it until you live it. And when you're in pain, it's really hard to dream big. You're just like trying to get through every day.
It's day by day.
Yeah.
I remember that time, and it was in recent years. As the world would have it, you and I were going through very different and on very different magnitudes life changes. And we found ourselves, so we'd known each other for a while, but we found ourselves living in the same apartment building as well, which was, as the world would have it. And I remember you going through that stage of your life and not wanting to leave your apartment and not wanting to be social. And then I remember the evolution after that where you were kind of dipping the toe and you were like, I'm going to venture out. And what does this new world look like for me? How has going through such challenging times shaped the way that you view life and success?
Yeah, it's so funny because you can't go through that and not change.
Yeah.
And what I used to want, it's different now.
Yeah.
And even finding what I want now, I'm still working it out every day. And success to me was living in New York with designer shoes and this and that, and then continuing that journey. And then once sickness grabs a hold of you, it's shaking something in you or out of you, and you sort of have to work out what that is. And for me, it was the transformation out of almost like the box that I had put myself into. I assumed that everyone was going to expect Juli Grbac, fashion designer, what's she doing, blah, blah, blah. And I'd created this identity because also I hadn't had children.
Yeah.
I made my career my identity, and getting out of that, everything had to crumble to the point of me not using my hands, not being on social media, for me to actually build myself back up, but in a different way, and work out what my version of success is now.
Identity is a really big thing. And I think tying ourselves to an identity, you are Juli, the fashion designer. A lot of the people listening will have an identity that's probably tied to what they do as their day job, or if they're a stay-at-home mum, that becomes their identity. And reevaluating that and stepping away from that can be a really challenging time in a person's life. How did you navigate that change in identity?
Firstly, I had to admit that what I was doing was no longer working.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
Because I went back into fashion after I got cancer and I wasn't enjoying it. And I was like, this is not landing. It's not fulfilling. So admitting that to myself was the first thing. And then the second thing was finding what brings me joy. So I tried all these different things. It was like, is this job going to do it? And it's really hard because it's almost like you've completely lost your sense of self when you become sick, and you've lost hope, and then you need a new dream to hold on to. And I didn't have one. So it took me a minute to work out what that was. And the more that I sat with it, the more I realized that I was sick of wearing high heels and doing what I was doing in the way that I was doing it.
Yeah.
And what I love doing is making people feel beautiful, showing them their own beauty. And I think that that's sort of the thread that's taken it to the next version of myself, and finding the fact that I've got so much experience and being really honest about it, I can really hold a place for people.
I love that. And I know that you do that quite well. Were there any other signs that you were out of alignment stepping back into fashion?
Apart from the fact that I got sick again, it's a big sign.
You were really whacked with that one.
What you actually use every day, we're going to take that away. So it's so funny that like the universe literally sends it to you in such a big way. But also the fact that I wasn't like enjoying clothes anymore, and the fact that like I was looking at Instagram and everything, the whole place in fashion and the way it was had changed, and that should have actually sort of got me excited, but I was just it just wasn't filling my cup anymore. And that was hard because that's who I was, and I spent 25 years doing that. And I was like, now who am I? Like it's been really uncomfortable.
Did you grieve the loss of that identity?
Yeah, I did. And look, I'm still holding on to a lot of my clothes and shoes
because they're fabulous
that I will never wear. But like turning up to like a boardroom wearing pink fluffy Fendi heels, like that was my vibe, like literally. And I still have that inside of me. And like I've still got the shoes. I can still wear them whenever I want. But it doesn't give me the same feeling that it used to. And I actually don't know what it is that I'm searching for, but it's almost like back the days of creating a garment and then seeing it come to life and then seeing it on the runway. That is some type of fulfillment that's sort of what I want now, but with something else.
So that's something else. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You did a big pivot.
I did.
And you pivoted into energy work.
Yes.
But definitely bringing in the fashion and the beauty influence, which is so you. Can you tell me about how this next chapter came about?
I did a few different things, and I worked out that my magic is making people see their own beauty. So whether it's dressing somebody in a dress or doing a reading for them, and highlighting their strengths and showing them their possibilities. Being honest, I never ever would have been like, I'm a psychic now.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird even for me to say.
Yeah.
But it took a long time. And in the time that I was healing, I was invited to an event, and this woman was like, oh, there's 3 psychics in the room, because I've always loved psychic people and it's just been a fascination of mine. And I was like, who is it? And she was like, oh, there's one and there's the other. And then at the end of the night, she's like, and you're the 3rd. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you're the 3rd. I can see you're wearing the golden crown. And I was like, and I'd done this type of thing before, but I'd shut it down when I got Virgin. And I was like, oh, and she goes, do a reading on this poor guy that was standing there.
And unsuspecting there.
And I was like, and I did it. And he's like, yeah, that was spot on. And so it took me a minute to sort of go, there's something there. And then I was handed a pack of tarot at that same party, and I was doing readings. And I'd done readings before, like in 2004, I'd done courses and stuff. And it was just like I picked up where I left off. And it still took me probably a year to admit that that was what I wanted to do. So I was just doing them for friends, working out, like just doing it for fun. And then I was like, there's something in this. When I'm doing this, my arms aren't sore and I feel lit up. And that was what sort of led me to create a business out of it. And then I probably did a couple hundred readings until I worked out my vibe. And instead of using tarot cards, I use fashion images or photos that I've taken, because I channel. And I'm also a medium, so I get messages from loved ones if they want to come through. And I've sort of found my vibe where the first half of the reading is like historical data, and then the second half is possibilities rather than predictions. So I show the person their strengths, what they've been through, and we talk about their personality, and it's all channeled. And then usually in the second part, it's like, I see this and that's there for you. So I have clairvoyance mainly, which is clear seeing.
A very big change from fashion.
Honestly, it's even weird to me. I couldn't even though I've been doing it as a job for 2 years, I couldn't even say it until a few weeks ago. Now when I meet people, they go, what do you do? I go, oh, I'm a psychic. And sometimes like they just are like this.
Yeah.
But it's so refreshing.
Yes.
And it feels like it sits. And that identity of like, if I was to say to someone, oh, I'm a fashion designer, I'd be like going, oh my God, I look terrible. And so when you're a psychic, no one's looking at what you're wearing. Like that pressure that I gave myself as a designer and put myself into this box, I've just released. And now I just show up.
And it feels good to speak your truth.
Yeah. And I'm being supported.
Yeah.
So it's taken a while to do the pivot and create a business out of it, but it's word of mouth, and people get recommended and they come to me and they come back again and again. And it's just, when people go, oh, do what you love every day and you won't work. Like, I've always thought that's bullshit, because I loved fashion and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And this is hard. It's creating a space, but it doesn't feel as hard. Like, I love it. And if I'm ever off, I think, oh God, I need a reading today, or it always puts me back on track for myself. Yeah.
How was that decision received by the people in your life?
Awkward. Because people, as soon as you say that this is what I'm doing, people think that it's almost like that they think I can see them naked. It's like, no. Like, I'm not reading you, because to read someone, it's an energetic thing. I turn the tap on and off. And also people feel very exposed. So for that reason, and then there's a lot of things around psychics and that world that people don't understand. So women come to me and go, oh, my husband doesn't know I'm here. And I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do to you? Like, okay. So people don't understand it. So a lot of people either don't talk about it or they love it.
Do you find that you're bringing up things about their life that they already knew deep down to be true?
Yeah, it's very validating for people to get a reading. And when we do it, I spend a lot of time telling them about themselves, and they're like, I knew this. And I'm like, exactly. I'm just getting out of you what you already know and giving you the confidence to move forward.
Your whole energy shifted when we started talking about this.
love it.
Yeah.
I do. I just love it. And I can't explain it. And even the medium thing, it was something that I didn't really want to do, because sometimes if I connect with someone, they, don't leave, and it's a bit creepy seeing ghosts. But once I started stepping into it more and refining it and inviting them in, and I realized it really helps people. So they don't come in every reading, but a lot of the time when they do, it really helps the person. And so now that's something that I'm definitely open to and enjoying. Yeah.
For those of you who don't mind a little woo-woo, you have to check out Julie's page, because her methods are different, and I can guarantee that you've never seen readings like this. I would say that Juli is the queen of vision boards. The queen. She has the most beautiful, insane, gorgeous vision boards that she has up on her walls. And you've combined your vision boarding and your love for that and your methods and processes with that, with the energy readings.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And you were a big part of that. I remember you came over once. I was doing a vision board at the same time and picked up 3 images, and I was like, which one? And we sort of looked at each other. It was like, oh my goodness, something I've been doing for 30 years. I sort of was able to combine in the process. And I think that's part of refining something and being open to it. So now if someone gets a reading, like I'll pull like an image from the YSL runway and go, okay, you're moving too fast. Or so I don't like using the same cards again and again. So I call it an energetic moving deck. So I keep on replenishing the images, and it keeps it exciting for me and makes it like a vision board at the end of the reading.
I love that. I can imagine a lot of people are coming to you because they're feeling a sense of frustration in their life, or they are looking for answers or clarity. With your own personal experience as well, what's advice that you could give to somebody who is feeling that frustration or that lack of direction and clarity?
I mean, look, we all feel it.
Yeah.
Even when we're on the right path, it's just there. But I think that when you're about to pivot or change your life, you need to work out the reason why you're doing it. And for me, what I wanted, it just changed. And what lights me up is helping people. And that sort of guided it. And then things get dropped in your path to sort of reinforce that you're doing the right thing. But I think people think that it's something they have to do immediately and it's going to change like that. Do it alongside your job, try things on, try on different things, different careers, do things for free. Just keep doing it until you work out what it is.
How do you think someone could go about getting further clarity about what they're meant to be doing?
I think a lot of people are in the rat race and, you just don't know what joy is anymore, and finding, what you really enjoy rather than out of your schedule. And I think that is where the magic is. And for me, I loved doing readings and spirituality. So think about, if you have spare time, what it is that you're doing, and then how you can be of service or bring that into a career. And even if it's not a big change, it could be an extension of what you're doing. Like I've done fashion, but I still have it in my everyday reading. So it's almost like one thing's going to lead you to the next.
Yeah. What's exciting you about the next chapter?
I think just finding balance and like making up my own rules. I've had my own business for 25 years, and now I'm like, spirit doesn't wake up till midday. Like, why was I doing meetings in the morning?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
Why was I trying to do something that wasn't landing? And I think that just creating a life where I just feel good and supported, and working it out along the way, and travel. I just want to travel. It's been a long time since I've traveled. I plan on spending the summer in Europe, and I'd love to be doing readings from hotels around Italy. And that's the plan.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have really loved seeing the evolution of Juli, and especially you stepping into this whole new space. It feels so aligned for you, and I know that you're really embracing this period in your life. So tell us, what should we be keeping our eyes out for in your world this year?
A slow life. This is what I want. A nice slow life where I can just sort of, help people along the way, feel lit up by what everybody else is doing, and, picking flowers, walking along European beaches and eating pasta.
I mean, that's literally sounds like my dream life, because it will be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, Italy is calling your name.
Yeah,
I
it
think you
is.
need
It
I think you
definitely
need
is.
to go.
Yes, yes. It has been for a very
It
long
has
time.
been.
I've
Yeah.
even as a kid, for some reason, I mean, I'm Croatian Macedonian, but for some reason, Italy, there's been a pull my
Yeah.
whole life, and I've been many times, and who
Yeah.
knows?
Where can we find you online?
My fashion business is juligrbac.com, and my new business is thankgodforlila.com, and Lila is my cat. So in those moments where I wanted to give up, it was Lila that pulled me
Yeah.
through. Honestly, I thank God for her every
Yeah.
day. And when I started doing the readings, I was like, what am I going to call this? And literally, Thank God for Lila stuck. And yeah, so Thank God for Lila on Instagram as well. And
Beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. This is such an important conversation to have. And I know that people are going to be able to take away some incredible things that you've shared today. Thank you for being so open. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this next chapter brings for you.
Thank you so much.